In this demonstration, we'll take a look at Distributed File System, DFS. DFS has two parts. DFS namespaces lets you group shared folders from one or more servers into a logical folder structure. And DFS replication uses compression technology to effectively replicate files and folders across file servers. There are several usage cases. First, you could use DFS to publish and replicate critical data from a central location down to branch offices. Second, you could use DFS to collect files from branch offices so they can be centrally located or backed up. And third, you could just use DFS to share files and collaborate among many different locations. Let's see how this is implemented. We'll begin in Server Manager with the Add Roles and Features wizard. And every server or member that you would like to participate in DFS will need to have the appropriate DFS role installed. The roles you are looking for are located under File and Storage Services, File and iSCSI Services. There's a role for DFS namespaces and a role for DFS replication, and you can install one or both of the roles depending on what you need. It'll take just a couple of minutes for this to install, and if you prefer, you can use Windows PowerShell, install-Windows feature, and the roles are fs-dfs-namespace and fs-dfs-replication. Once everything is installed, under the Server Manager Tools menu, you'll be able to access the DFS Management Console. The first thing we're going to do is to right-click Namespaces and select New Namespace. And we'll need to put in the name of the server that will host the namespace. We'll use lun-svr1. We also need to provide the name of the namespace. We'll use branch docs. You can have as many namespaces as you need to organize your folders. This will be a domain-based namespace, so information will also be stored in ADDS. If you don't have ADDS but you have a failover cluster, you could choose standalone namespace. And after reviewing your information, it takes but a second to create the namespace. If you select the new namespace and you look at the Namespace Servers tab, you'll see the information about LON Server 1 that we provided. Now we can right-click our namespace and create a new folder. We'll call it Data Files. And we'll set up a target for the folder. It'll be on lun-server1/data files. And if the shared folder does not exist, we'll let the wizard create it for us. We want to make sure all users have read-write permissions and set up a local path to the C branch docs data files folder. And the wizard will also create that for us. Now with our namespace and folder set up, it's time to think about replication. So we'll launch the Replication Folder Wizard from the Replication tab. And it points out you need at least 2 target folders to configure replication. So we'll add another member server. This will be tor-svr1, and we'll use the Data Files folder. This will be our second server to communicate with in the DFS replication. And we'll let the wizard create the shared folder. We'll make sure all users have read-write permissions and again provide a local path to c:/branch docs/data files. Now with our folders and members set up, we're ready to create a replication group that will be used to keep those folder targets synchronized. And we'll take the default for group name and for folder name, and we'll make sure that both of our folder targets are listed. We'll make lun-server1 the primary member that will be authoritative during the initial replication. And then we need to pick a topology. Now the first topology, hub and spoke, is grayed out because you need at least 3 members in the group, and this topology works well in publication and distribution scenarios. The last topology, no topology, is for customizing which members will replicate with which other members in the group. We'll stay in the middle with full mesh, where every member replicates with all other members of the group, and this works well as long as you have less than 10 members in your group. The last thing to configure is when replication occurs. You can replicate continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It also gives you some bandwidth choices to do that. Or you can replicate during specified days and times, and you can actually set a schedule, maybe in the evening after everyone leaves and has checked in their files. We'll stick with replicate continuously for this demonstration, and after checking your choices for your replication group, it takes just a second. You're reminded that replication will not begin until each member is configured. With everything in place, it's time to test. And I'll start with the adatum.com branch docs data files folder. I'll just create a new file in there. And then I will switch over to each of the member servers, starting with lawn server 1, make sure the file replicated, and also Toronto server 1, make sure the file replicated. And you'll want to do quite a bit of testing to make sure whatever topology you have is working the way that you expected it. So in summary, during this demonstration, we installed DFS, created a namespace with shared folder, configured 2 member servers with a mesh topology, and tested. Your course does have a lab on this, so please be sure to give it a try.